rockers. Shout out to one of my random rockers, Julie. And I'm going to move this a little bit more. And yeah, that's a little better. Alright. For who was 2 rows apparently behind where I was sitting at with her husband. And didn't get a chance to even talk and see what you thought of the movie. So, kudos to you. So, comment below. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. And as well as anyone else. By the time this ends, I'll probably say the same thing. Regardless, this Black Panther is the movie we're talking about, despite the Captain America shirt. However, he was in the last film. The last film he was in involving the MCU. And when we were introduced to this character, for the films that is, it was Captain America Civil War. And, so yeah. Because I don't have a Black Panther shirt. Now I feel like I should get one. I don't know. But yeah, technically Black Panther himself is literally, essentially, he's Batman, except he's black. Instead of running a corporate business, he's running an entire fucking country. Pretty much. And, yeah, this film takes place shortly, I guess you could say, sometime shortly after the events of Civil War. I guess you would say. Where it may fit is still considered debatable, I guess. But other than that, I would say this film is just wow. It has already sold over 200 million overall for the 4-day weekend. And it's come pretty close to 200 actually. It sold over most people's expectations of 180. That's for sure. But yeah, as far as this film is concerned, it's considered revolutionary in its own right, and especially given the whole thing involved with this, and it actually does rely a lot on dealing with both African and even African American culture in and of itself, as of course depicted, and more so even depicted via both sides, via either with T'Challa himself. Of course, the film is, I forgot to also mention, is directed by Ryan Coogler, his 3rd film so far, like that of Ben Affleck, three in a row. Which I have yet to see, Free Fall Station. Creed, which I know you have all seen, if you check my Facebook, wound up not being my best review when because I didn't check it and realize it, and that's when I had to learn to deal with it, because I was kind of called out on that. And of course, this here, Black Panther. And yeah, I can't wait to see what he'll do next. This director is going to do next, and hopefully he can maybe pull 4 in a row, which Ben Affleck didn't exactly get to do. And in fact, because of that, it might have hurt his chances of actually having full control over the Batman character. But it's not like it even matters, because of the way DC and Warner Brothers are handling that shit. At least we got a good Wonder Woman film. At least we got that out of the way. But this completely even tops what Wonder Woman did. Immediately. Because for the most part, if you look at Wonder Woman, if you look past all that, you can easily look past all this stuff and compare it to just similarly to what the MCU had already done. And MCU has already established all this stuff, and now we got an MCU film that basically transcended this with Black Panther. Chadwick Boseman's character T'Challa, a lot of people are kind of dismissing him, mostly because but mainly because there's so many other good characters that build up and move the plot and the story forward, as a good film is supposed to do. And Boseman's done real well. In this one, he definitely, in fact, him and of course Martin Freeman's Everett K. Ross is returned in this film, and I feel like Everett K. Ross did a lot more than just be some CIA mother effer, whatever, as he was in this in Civil War. But with his you definitely get a little bit more out of it, and his character was meant to kind of be this. A lot of these things with these characters, it's hard to really fully go into depth about it, actually, now without having to go into spoilers. Well, Michael B. Jordan, thus far, has been considered the best, is considered by most coming out of this film, and probably including myself, to be one of, if not the best villain the MCU has ever done. Possibly dethroning Loki in terms of what he's done from Thor and Avengers, more specifically. Especially more given the fact that he was built out more into one film as opposed to multiple films. And you also got the somewhat love interest of Nakia, played by Lupita Nyong'o. You have Denai Guerrera, who you all mostly know from Walking Dead as the one chick with the samurai sword. I'm forgetting her name. It's been a while since I've watched Walking Dead proper, I guess. As Okoye, if I'm getting this, if I'm saying that right, and she's already just straight badass, and it's done in such a way that I feel like a lot of people who've been recently watching Walking Dead has been missing from her, and or wishing that Walking Dead would do more of and capture better. This is what you're going to get out of her performance-wise, and she's doing this with a bald-ass head, and still looking nice for having a bald-ass head, but, for being cute bald, so that could say something on women. And that's another thing. This film also kind of empowers women in the process as well, more specifically black women, but it can work on both ways. It can work on any race, because they're all powerful characters. And that would even include more specifically, the one that really brings out more of that MCU humor via the Wright's character of Shuri. Or Shri. Well, regardless, if I'm not pronouncing this right. I was afraid of that anyway. She was amazing. If the actress is, if Lita Wright is anything like the character, she'd be fun to hang out with. She'd be kind of fun and cool to hang out with, actually. Or at least for most people, I guess. What are those shoes? It was a good line she had, but she's not the only funny character in here. I mean another funny character, or at least turns out to be funny later in the movie, because it starts off bad, and that's, most people would be Winston Duke, even his own freaking actual name. This actor's actual name is badass in of itself. So if you could just you could just make that your rap. You could just easily use your real name as a rap name in that regard. You'd already be gangster as fuck. I'm just saying. I don't do rap, and I'm not even that into rap shit. I used to a degree, but not super gangster. I mean, it was just Eminem and Beastie Boys, and that's it. Maybe throwing in some Nelly or. Yeah, didn't have and now recently it'd just be Kendrick Lamar, I guess, if anything. So, to each his own. Speaking of which, soundtrack. Speaking of Kendrick, soundtrack's not this is pretty good, or at least the parts involving him and maybe Weeknd or whatever. For mostly those parts, scoring mostly being used as a theme for Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger. Once again, just. And then of course your more lesser supporting actors, like your Angela Bassett as the mom of both Shuri and T'Challa. Forrest Whitaker's Zuri. But Andy Serkis, he was, in his laugh. Some people say Joker. I get the Joker thing, but if you actually think about his history and his performance capture history, you probably go more to Gollum on that one. With that laugh in that interrogation scene. Which they do show, which I'm not really spoiling anything necessarily, because that's actually in the trailer if you see it. So. And then there's, the only thing they never really said much about character-wise, besides Forrest Whitaker Zuri, for those of you who've basically watched This Is Us like my mom, you'll know that Njobu, is Sterling played by Sterling K. Brown, who basically plays T'Challa's uncle and T'Chaka's brother, N'Jobu, who, as it basically turned out, and that's, in fact, that's a part that I might have to wait and get to in a minute. Because right now, I would say all these characters, mostly Shuri, going back to Shuri, she's great. She's, not only is she funny, she's pretty well, her character is clearly, as for a scientist, she's the smartest one, even possibly considerably, even though maybe not so much the comics, but more so in here, possibly smarter than that of Tony Stark. So, and especially with the way they handle the gadgets, the Afrotech gadgetry here, future tech gadgetry here, and how they eventually it starts off more like its own thing of someone building into becoming a kingship thing or whatever, and then of course it kind of goes into a sort of a government espionage spy thriller with a lot of political intrigue here and there, which the political intrigue aspect is laced around a lot, as well as a lot of, obviously, I can't exactly entirely say in your face, but it's obvious, it's very obviously there in terms of the history with, as I said, with the history, with the whole thing with African culture and even African American culture, and, they kind of throw in the slavery thing, but it's done in such a way that's not retarded about it, and I love how they handle that here. And overall, before I get to the spoilers, which I'm going to have to do at this point, because it is going to get really hard to talk about this, but overall, I gotta say, this film rocks. It really does. But I can't say it's Master Class, which was going to be the new higher tiered level, or at least I would say Master Class certification on top of it if I had to, but I would say it doesn't deserve a Master Class certification yet. It probably might through time, but originally I was going to give this thumbs up, but given over time and thinking about it, having to marinate it on the past couple days or so, it does rock. It really does. In hindsight, it really does, and it's still relevant in this time frame, especially in our own political intrigue. I guess even dealing with that. Not so great a president as some people think in Trump, but whatever. And no, I didn't vote for Hillary. Nor did I do that, man. I mean, we didn't really have any options. That's why our election sucked just as much as everyone in Britain hated the Brexit, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, spoiler time. Yes, I'm wearing this on my hat. No, I will not ruin this hat. And hopefully, it will stay on this entire time if I don't move. Alright, now for the spoilers. You've been warned. So this film technically starts off mostly around the time of, mostly like around the 90s, dude. Like early 90s. We're talking like Tupac, Biggie Smalls era of stuff. And I think still around the time where NWA was kind of still blowing up with their fuck the police and shit like that, with Straight Outta Compton. And this place actually takes place and it's Oakland, of all places. Oakland. Big gangsta, East Coast, West Side gangsta shit, right? And, yeah, I've seen enough of this movie. It makes me talk black, I guess. I don't know. Weird. On my end, I guess. But, anyway. I'm wearing a white dude on my head. Here.
Powering off.
Ignore that. So, and it's really the character N'Jobu, if you think about it and look back on it, it's N'Jobu talking to a certain other particular character, but that is more of a spoiler of what happens later in the film. which, I mean, a lot of the jokes in here, when they first meet Shuri, you're already, like, intrigued by her character. You're already invested in Aoki with the whole thing of don't freeze. And him like, I never freeze. Guess what? You do. And it becomes even funnier when you meet Shuri and she kind of pokes fun at him and all that stuff. Even at one point, kind of making fun of it. Say, I don't know what offhanded comedy said, but he got the bird. And but T'Challa got the bird from the sister. I've had those few times with my sister, so. And those moments, like, when they're in, like, in the one room with all the gadgets and shit. Which you do see in the trailer, where they're doing this one little cool little, like, little weird secret handshake thing or something. It's like, and it's just that kind of, I kind of understand that bonding when it comes to that brother and sister, that big brother little sister bond given with my little sister back in the day, more so or less, as opposed to now, because things in life happen. And I just kind of don't want to talk about it necessarily, but some good came out of it, but I'm just not able to get past the bad for myself. But moving on from that. I mean, a lot of funny lines in there, mostly the shoes thing. And then, of course, when he comes back, because he's still grieving from what happened with his father, we see how his relationship is with his father once he finally, finishes his, little tradition thing of him going through the ceremony of becoming king. And then him actually having to face Winston Duke's introduction as M'Baku, which is actually a villain, but in this film, they take a different approach to him. Or at least he starts off like he could be a good villain, a nice little threat. Or maybe like a side villain, maybe, possibly. And he's done very well. He comes off pretty huge, pretty badass in that moment. But, T'Challa just kind of puts him down to earth and just shows him, bitch, shut the fuck up. I deserve to be king, bitch. And even having to choke him out, it's like, live, your people need you, damn it. And he basically taps out and lets him have it, And then but the thing... But here's the thing. Of the characters on here that really pissed me off, it's a shame because the actor is Daniel Kaluuya, and he was apparently considered great in Get Out, but this is the film he's coming off of, Get Out, which he's been nominated for, and I think he might have won an award. I'm not entirely sure. He might have just been nominated in it. But, in terms of performance with Golden Globes or Oscars or whatever, but his character, all of a sudden... When it came to the whole thing, when they finally do the spy thing with Ulysses Claw, the whole scene that was really cool was how, before all that stuff, you find out when he finally takes the one flower juice shit that basically makes some... Basically, you go get high and superpowers. It's almost kind of that kind of thing. You want to get high and get buried and... the ground and, wake up in some supernatural looking freaking African, like, plane or place or something with a tree with a bunch of panthers that turn out to be your ancestors all your ancestors, including your old man, who were once Black Panthers and all that shit. Crazy shit, But, and how he just... And there's layers to his character, how he just kind of cries and tries to be what he wanted to be as his father, only to find out later on, because of what winds up being the main villain. Which originally winds up coming off, it's really, some people say it's 2 different films, but I feel like it's kind of 3 different short films put into 3 different acts. The first being T'Challa becoming king, that villain winds up being more M'Baku at that time. The second half being more Ulysses Claw, and that initially winding up building up via the characters, helping use characters' progression, leading into story progression seamlessly somehow, even though some problems do arise. The biggest problem I had with, like I said, with Daniel Kaluuya Wakabi, he just, all of a sudden, I mean, they worked it out to set it up, I get it, to have this son of a gun, to him be the guy that basically becomes his in for Killmonger. When he brings in Ulysses S. Claw, dead corpse. Yes, he kills him. Hell, he kills his girlfriend in the process. That, Ulysses S. Claw had him at gunpoint at some point. And yeah, this guy's a bad motherfucker. But the weirdest thing is, you find a reason why to kind of sympathize with him and his ideas, what his motivations are. It turns out from what we've seen in the beginning, we find a resolve that that Eric Killmonger Stevens is actually Jadaka, I think is how you pronounce it, I guess, the son of Ninjabu, who happens to be basically the brother to T'Chaka. And he basically wound up killing him when he meets him in Oakland. When he met him in Oakland in the 90s, and it turns out one of the kids that you first see playing basketball in the ghetto streets of Oakland, using a hoop basket, an actual, like, one of those old black plastic baskets for hoops and shit. And you have that, and he was wound up being one of those kids, and his father basically made, and on top of basically Zuri, who's played by Forrest Whitaker, whose son plays his younger self, which is considered a flaw because his younger son is not nearly as tall as Forrest is, so it makes it seem like he grew 5 inches, even though he's a full-grown adult at that point. Even though that's really more of a nitpick than anything. Hell, the guy who plays T'Chaka then was basically the younger son of the actual actor who played T'Chaka in Captain America Civil War. Which is how that came about, but whatever. Well, hell, Michael B. Jordan didn't get his role, if not for Ryan Coogler, because of the past 2 films he's done with him. And, it seems like for Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan's been his ace in the hole. And once again, with him, this time as a villain, he is the ace in the hole in this film. He shines he shines almost, if not more, he shines on equal levels and on equal playing field to Chadwick Boseman, or he shines so much that it actually elevates and builds him up to equal in terms of performance and just character and development in of itself with Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa as Black Panther. And he basically takes the throne. He's been building up his entire life to take over and to finally go in and take the throne. And all this could have been avoided. The thing is about what we know of Wakanda, from what we said in the beginning, they do not accept outsiders, nor do they bother to help anyone outside because of their and sticking with their own traditions, and in turn it kind of ruins things, and it just builds up into something. And as a result of things like not bothering to take in N'Jabu's son, which happened to be Killmonger, to begin with, and him finding his dead son, he had been since then plotting revenge, and because of what he's been dealing with in the ghetto, like most people who have it rough in some of these rough ass ghetto streets like Oakland or something, they basically go into the military and try to have that help them with schooling and shit. And he used that as well as, and built himself up even to the point of going into the CIA and everything. And becoming this infiltration type guy that essentially found using everything he's learned between the military and within the CIA to become what he needed to be at the moment, building up to him becoming king, where he basically beats the fuck out of T'Challa, and finally finding out about Zuri's, what Zuri had done, basically he was also another war. They basically have spies they call war dogs. He was a war dog, and it turned out he had betrayed them and gave them to Ulysses S. Claw, who basically killed Wakabi's parent. Wakabi's parents, essentially, was Ulysses S. Claw, and he had a piece of vibranium to do it. And that was all because of someone on the inside, which happened to be Nujabu. And he had to take care of him. And he resisted, and instead of coming with him, and he got fucking clawed. Got fucking clawed in the chest. So, yeah, it's pretty dark. They put the Black and Black Panther in so many different levels, and I don't mean, and we're not even talking race at that point. We're talking like tone of movie tone here. Like, yeesh. Which is definitely something that you don't normally expect from a MCU movie. So that was definitely refreshing. And Sterling Brown, even for those, played a huge, small, little pivotal point in the story here that would lead into, and even when he starts becoming Black Panther, he gets to see his dead afterlife, and he doesn't even basically shed a tear, because from him saying that it's natural everyone dies because mostly because he's been in such a bad neighborhood, such a gang-ridden neighborhood, that he's just always seen death all the time. He's just so, numb to it. And which is kind of sad. And it's so hits home for some people who live around those areas. And it probably doesn't help, especially given Ferguson. Probably around here, Missouri is kind of, or anywhere east of St. Louis side shit, I guess. It's kind of become a pretty ghetto neighborhood, dude. It's kind of, pretty run down. But yeah. I mean, and that built up a lot, and his methods and his understanding of why, and he felt like they needed to change, but it was done in such a way that once he got into the throne, whatever traditions they had, he just threw them away and said, "No, I'm king, bitch. You listen to what I fucking say." He basically had a very conceitful kind of way of doing things, and it was kind of more obvious of how they built him up because of how he was raised in Oakland streets, having lost his dad, and they could have, if they had just. And it clearly would have all been different if Chaka had decided instead to bring the kid home with them. It might have been different. And, just some little things, But, and I love how from when he first became Black Panther, came back to being Black Panther after becoming king, T'Challa was on his knees crying because he had saw his father as this perfect, godlike figure, only to find that he was more human than anything, and that the man he looked up to was just a facade, because of this lie, and it took Zuri to tell him. And I love how when he tried, Zuri ignores him, and he fucking tells him and shows him more human side, and that's a moment where it shows T'Challa has more of a human side to him when he yells at him and says, "I am your king." Was fucking awesome. It's an awesome, just awesome, and it actually really added even extra layers to him, and it really, after seeing stuff like that, makes me wonder how, he's trying to be more reserved because he's trying to, and gracious, in a sense, or graceful-ish in a sense, because he's trying to rule this kingdom, and he's trying to be strong for his country. Even though he's hurting from having lost his dad, and all this, but he looked up to him, and now that he hasn't, and, he lost his one friend's trust, even though that friend immediately distrusts him after one failed mission, whereas everyone else had failed, or he's just counting every failure, not just on his own, but just the only thing that would make sense, because if not, you basically just outwitted. Well, it sucks because when you make one promise and you can't even keep it, once, and he's like, I've already dealt with being burnt out so many times after your father. I'm not dealing with it more than once after you, or some bullshit. It's still kind of bullshit, and it's even more bullshit because Killmonger whose dad is the one that betrayed Wakanda and gave Ulysses Klaus the vibranium. That essentially led to what killed Wakabi's parents in the first place. He even went as far as betray him and his own lover, which was Okoye, who was just fucking badass, especially. And Ulysses S. Claw, Andy Serkis was great. Not only the laugh, the fucking but Killmonger was great. Even when they ended the whole thing with the fight, even though some people complain about the CGI, that's really at this point just nitpicky to me. Some people say third act weak. I was fine with it, even though it was a little more predictable as opposed to what you got at the second and first acts. But after the second act, it does come off a little bit in ways, and it's done very naturally. There's so many things I'd love to say, but makes this film really damn good. I can't. This is just the beginning of the year, and this is, of course, going to, as I figured, would be the first great film of the year. And as was to be expected at this point, and now we just gotta wait to see what March brings around. Maybe. I don't know. March is probably when things are gonna build up after this, but we'll see what happens, I guess. What did you guys think? Anyways, I really enjoyed this film. I would like to see it again if I could afford to. Why spoiler reviews are awesome and they help you when you're thinking about your own thought process. What did you guys think of it? Comment below, let me know. Like this video, rock that like button, thrust if you must. Punch that subscribe button if need be. And I really appreciate it because I'd love to at least maybe, even though it's not enough to get monetization at this point, I'm not expecting it. At least if you can get me to maybe at least 100 views at this point by the end of the year with the way my track record has been lately, I'd even be more appreciative, man. But, I'm just saying, it'd be nice. As always, or at least it just feels somewhat fulfilling for me, I guess. I need some fulfillment since a lot of things have kind of went to shit for me lately. Especially with after Rita, and which still bothers me. Valentine's Day doesn't help when you're near close to Valentine's Day, and it's also Lent, and you're giving up alcohol, which could considerably numb up the pain if you needed. I'm not an alcoholic, but I gave it up because I thought maybe it was kind of played a part in what led to the breakup, honestly. A few times, honestly. But that's why I gave it up, but for Lent, and I don't know if I'll give it up entirely, but maybe it'll just fix some things here and there. I don't know, but regardless of that, also check out my Facebook, that's in the description as well. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you all in the next video, and I may do announcements. I may do a couple albums that were in January that I missed because I don't really see anything coming out right now in February unless Bandcamp throws me a loop or something. So, until March 9th, that's about all I'm looking forward to, I guess, for the time being. Things seem for movies and music to be picking up more around March. And plus my birthday's around there. Hopefully it won't be a sad birthday. And be the day where I have to start counting for the next 365 days till I turn fucking 30. 30-year-old virgin, here I come. Alright. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. See you all in the next video. Take care, y'all.